So we have had a couple long days. Tuesday, I got a phone call from a client. He was out in the lakes here in Key West. If you guys don't know where that is, it's out by the Marquesas, and it's just an area that's what it's called, is the lakes. Had a major water leak. I don't know why he was calling me. I always tell my clients, I'm like, listen, if your boat's on fire, if your boat's sinking, person overboard, whatever it is, what kind of emergency you're having, do not call me. Call the Coast Guard. Hail them on 16, dial 911. I'm the guy you call when everything's settled down and you need it fixed up. But anyways, he called me, and I told him what to do as best I could. And I said, don't run the engine anymore. You're gonna have to get towed in. It took him hours, but we got him towed in eventually. And well, come to find out, he's got a brand new Volvo engine, and we had to take all the covers off and everything. We had to rinse it all down with salt off because everything in the engine compartment was sprayed with salt water. And then we sprayed it down with 2 big old cans of Corrosion X. And remind you, this is late at night because had to do it that night to get that corrosion under control, plus to make sure the boat was safe. So we're working late. Then the next morning, I assessed the situation and discovered that he was running and sucked up a bunch of what we call eelgrass, which is like long, thin strands of spaghetti, only it's grass. I don't know how else to explain it. And what happened was they worked their way through the air charge cooler, which is a heat exchanger. One side is air from the turbo and the other side is salt water. And it blocked up the inlet of that unit. And when it blocked up that unit, the pump overpressurized the water system and it blew the hose off that cooler. To add insult to injury, once that happened, he lost that. Then the scoop on the bottom of the boat, there's like a little bronze scoop. Looks kind of just like that. It's got scoops and it's shaped like a clamshell and it sits on the bottom of the boat. So kind of acts as a strainer. Well, that ended up getting all blocked up with eelgrass also. I talked to our Volvo rep and he said, Matt, you got to get that engine running today because if the supercharger sucked up water, the engine will be ruined and it won't be covered under warranties. He's looking at a huge bill. Pulled the air filter out. Yes, it was all soaked with water. So then it was like, is there water in the engine? Now we're in crisis mode because if there's any water in the engine, salt water in there will just screw everything up and pretty much make everything junk. So I managed to bar the engine over. I think there was probably a little bit of water in there, but barring it over probably got some of the water out. And then I back flushed the engine cooling water system. I descaled it while I was in there because there's all kinds of junk in there. Got that all hooked back up and had some electrical faults, got those cleared up. I think they were just electrical faults because the water was all wet, and managed to get it started. And it's running. Ran it for about half an hour just to make sure that the oil got circulated through everything and everything was working, didn't get any faults. And I think we managed to just save the engine. It was pretty emotional. The guy was asking me for hugs because he was very stressed out. Long story short, yeah, it cost some labor and a couple little parts. The good news is he's safe and the boat is running. But man, I'm beat up and sore from working on that boat because there's a lot of climbing down and up and down and up and down and laying on top of the engine and stuff like that. Believe me, I've been taking some leave.
Chris and I are over here taking a look at this boat. It's traveled 8 hours to come and see us for us to repair it. Yeah, look at that. In the bow thruster area. Looks like, oh, got a chunk missing. Okay, I thought it was cracked, but that's the way that it's designed.
But it is missing.
Oh, maybe. We don't quite know why it flooded. Guess we're gonna find out.
Got nice little 2200 Yamahas, which I'm always a fan of Yamahas. But I guess our work list, windlass and the bow thruster, we know it got some flooding damage. So a lot of the electrical parts on the bow thruster are all corroded. So we're gonna get those replaced. You can see this side's even worse. And we gotta look at the windlass. Apparently, once we get inside the boat, we'll take a look at the electric there. Check its autopilot. Shadow screen to the second station. Imagine when they mean second station up on the fly bridge. And the port side door apparently isn't opening up.
Well, we're just getting here. And we opened up the boat, and it seems like there's a strong smell of gas.
It's not too bad, but more than I would like.
Yeah, for sure. I think we should open this up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the compartment.
Yeah. No, kind of mentioned that he just wants this stuff here replaced, but right on the other side is the motor, and it got submerged as well too. we could go through the motions and fix all of this stuff, and a high probability of that being up is very likely. It's been submerged. I would recommend just getting a whole new bow thruster assembly.
Okay.
Where those chips are down there that we saw in the stern
bow
tube,
thruster, yeah.
right? I can see light right there, and I can see light right there going through it. So it's almost like where it's shipped off, the hole is a lot thinner now. So the orange right there is the light coming through the hole. On that side, that's the biggest part that's broken. And then that's the starboard side. Now, let me see if I can get you around here. And there's just a little bit. There we go. I think I can go this way. So that's the light coming through on the port side. It's much smaller on this side than it is over there. So you can see how much brighter and longer it is. But if you compare it to the break on the outside.
So this boat would literally sink if we put it in the water.
I can't physically see a hole. The amount of light that's coming through is consistent with the size of the break.
Okay, gotcha.
I ain't one to gossip, so you didn't hear this from me. Given everything that I saw, I would call them clues. So this entire compartment definitely got flooded to about up to here. Now, a bilge pump should have kept up with it. Maybe it did, maybe it was too much.
If the bilge pump worked.
If the bilge pump worked, my theory on why there is water here is if you actually look at the bow thruster tube on the port and starboard side forward of the tube, there's parts that are broken off, not just chipped off, but completely broken off. The right side is much brighter. They're still kind of oranges, so it's actually like it's coming through thin fiberglass, but it's bright on that side and not as bright on this side, and the amount of light is consistent with the size of the damage there. So if I was the thinking man, what it looks like, the nature of the damage is somebody was coming up to the trailer, which has 2 bunks. Here's it coming in. They came too far to the left, wind, whatever, and it looks like that first impact chipped some off. They tried to make another attempt, hit that, chipped that side off, and then finally got on. It could have been that as they did that, they started taking on water, not realizing that they were taking on water, or it could have just started flooding in and flowing back, and then that there was just enough, because the bilge down here is about that far off the ground there, started flowing all back. They could have gotten on the trailer, and then once it sat on the trailer and tilted forward, that all of that water now started to pull up in the bow and just sat in here, corroding everything away.
I asked the owner and the captain how all this damage occurred here on the inside since we arrived, and they don't really have any idea why. So we're just coming up with our own thesis for what we're seeing visibly. Saw this beautiful boat a couple weeks ago over at the Perry Hotel, and now I see it over at the yard hauled out. I like this guy. Keeping up with black and how hot that boat must be in the summertime.
Was part of this whole thing. Oh my God, they are so crunchy. But every single one of these cables is super crunchy. It sounds like a potato chip. Like a whole bag of potato chips. Yeah, that's just a plastic, but I've been moving them around, but you can hear the crunchiness in them as you break them loose. One thing that makes a wire marine grade is that it has the ability to flex a little bit, so it can hear all of that. Yeah, it almost sounds like radio static or potato chips crunching. So all of that water and corrosion has just made its way all the way down its cables. So every single one of those cables needs to be replaced. That's probably why it's smelling in there. Those things are full. They were sitting right next to those two, which I think are the vents for the cabin. No, I'm pretty sure it's just because that's the vent on that one was open and off, and it was sitting right next to the vent down there. Sucked some of the fumes in there, which is about right, because it didn't smell like a spill. Sounds like that was working. It's either not connected or not working. Third bilge pump. Do you hear anything back there? Like a motor running? Yeah. So 2 out of 3 bilge pumps work.
Well, I moved the gas away from the vent, so maybe it won't smell.
Hopefully.
Bow thruster, we got the washdown pump, the autopilot, add screen to the second station. The port side door, he said something is like a little loose in the top or something, he said.
That deadbolt, as it slides over it, is supposed to extend and stop this from sliding forward so you can drive with the boat with the door open and it doesn't close on you. What's not happening is something in that bolt and the handle down here is disconnected. That should be moving with it because it's supposed to latch into place right there to keep this like that. There we go. But this doesn't retract the way that it's supposed to. So we'll start with tightening that up and then seeing what's going on with this. Forward to midship bilge pumps work. Got the info. We're just gonna do a double HDS screen for upstairs.
So we just got off the boat and we thought we'd come and take a look at this bow thruster area since that seems to be where we think there might have been a problem. What do you think in here, Chris?
Oh, I'm just poking around. No, man, it definitely took some damage. I don't see any holes per se, but definitely chipped off a lot. Oh. So, you know, looking back at that light and that brake and everything, just wondering how you guys would go about rebuilding that structurally. One, that it's not leaking anymore, and two, in the future it'll hold up. And I think if anything, kind of like a keel guard or anything up there would have, you even think it would have made a difference or anything like that? Yeah, let me know what you think.
The bow thruster motor, there's a lot of corrosion. This is down inside where it connects to the bow thruster itself. The casing for the bow thruster also is corroded like this. There is no bonding wire to the ground system or the anode system for the bow thruster unit. That is possible why this is corroded. The bow thruster itself, I believe, was underwater because these three connectors here broke right off. Either the relay control for the bow thruster motor is not in good condition. And this is the remote start battery key switch, same problem. So corrosion, corroded ends. We will have corrosion back into the wires also. These have to be replaced. This is the wiring harness for the bow thruster motor, carries the information to the windlass unit. Lots of corrosion on the relays, lots of corrosion on the push pins. Opposite side is the same. That'll be replaced with the relay when it's new. Lots of corrosion on the connectors, lots of corrosion on the inside connectors that connect. These will all have to be replaced.
The same on the power cables.
The start interrupter, isolator, and charging relay switch, same problem. Lots of corrosion. Same thing on the cables. We can't see inside this unit. It's sealed. And then each one of the power cables, you can see they're already starting to come apart from the corrosion. These will have to be replaced because these are exact lengths. And same with the ground wires.
What we have here today is the the boat shades, and crimping 101. And I put a little heat strip on here. One of our crimpers, all of our wire, our ends. I think we're using a number 70 in our crimpers. You can see there are all kinds of different dies here. The 70. Got parts on the way. This guy got ordered. We're replacing all these ends here. So you see, they're all corroded. Now, you know where all these wires go, don't you?
I believe so. We marked them pretty well.
Hey, you gotta believe.
We marked them quite well.
Oh boy, and so it begins. It's 10 minutes till noon, and I have people asking me to work overtime and work the weekend because they have a captain coming in, they have their boats messed up, all this regular stuff, and I'm like, I don't make my guys work weekends, but we'll see. I asked them if they wanted to, if they didn't get the job done, but I don't know if they will or not. And I hate it when we work weekends because it always involves me.